Hey guys, it's Vicky, and today I'm here to share with you another Flicks and Lit video, which I haven't done one of these in a minute, but I went and saw the new film adaptation of Little Women and decided I wanted to chat about it with you guys, so here we go. So, as you guys know, I reread Little Women in December because I was anticipating going to see this movie, and I was really excited about it. And for those of you that don't know, Little Women is a novel by Louisa May Alcott. It's a classic, and it tells the story of four sisters basically growing up in Civil War era America, over in, I believe it's Massachusetts. And their father is away at war, and so it's the four of them and their mother and and they have a housekeeper named Hannah, and it's just about them growing up and transitioning from girls to women. So yeah, it's one of my favorite books, definitely one of my favorite classics and one of my favorite books. And so I went into this movie really excited, but also a little bit nervous because for me, there have been 4 film adaptations of Little Women, and the most recent one before this 2019 version was in 1994, and that movie to me is like kind of special because I went to the theater and saw that movie when I was 10, and it made me want to read the book, and I kind of fell in love with the movie, and so then I wanted to read the book, and that's how Little Women kind of came into my life, was through the 1994 version. So I was a little bit nervous about this one. I wasn't sure how it was going to hold up, but I'm pleased to say that I was pretty happy with this adaptation. The first thing I noticed about this adaptation was at the very start of the film, it opens with a scene that happens at the halfway point of the book. So I was like, wait a second, what's going on? This is like halfway through the book. What happened to the whole first half of the book? It's because the movie is told through flashbacks. So yes, the movie starts at the halfway point of Little Women, and then all the stuff before that is told through flashbacks, which has never been done before. I don't think, none of the other movies have done that. I don't know about like the TV miniseries and stuff. There's been so many different ones of those, but I think all of the films have been told the same way that the book is told, in a very like linear sort of format, and this movie doesn't do that. And actually I really liked that it did this, that it jumped back and forth in time. It just made it kind of like an all new story to me. Although I will say that maybe people that haven't read the book might be a little bit confused, because at times it seemed like there wasn't a huge kind of cue that it was jumping back in time. Sometimes it would say like 7 years previous and do a little flashback, but sometimes it didn't. So people that maybe didn't read the book might be a little bit confused. I liked it. I thought, like I said, it was just a totally different way of telling the story, and it just made it like all the more interesting to me. Overall, I thought that the casting was done pretty good. I think that, again, going into it, I was like, how is anybody going to play Jo any better than Winona Ryder? Because I think like she was just perfect. However, Saoirse Ronan was really good too. She just captured that sort of, that sort of kind of wildness, unkeptness, that sassiness, sometimes the crassness of Jo. And so yeah, I thought that she played that character really well. I was also impressed by is it Timothy I cannot say the name, Timothy Chalamet, oh my god, you know who I'm talking about. Again, I was like, no one can be Laurie but Christian Bale, but then I actually liked his performance as well. He really captured the kind of that kind of wistfulness about Laurie, and also that kind of that sort of like not misdirection, but just how he was kind of just going through motions and was just kind of like, I don't know what I want to do with my life, and I'm just doing my thing. Like, he really captured, I think, that part very well, and also that kind of underneath sort of longing that he had for Jo, and it really his love for the entire March family. I thought he captured all of that very well. I also thought that Meryl Streep was great as Aunt March. She was obviously feisty, a little crotchety, you know, the Aunt March that everybody knows and loves. She captured that character very well. And then also Florence Pugh, I believe it is, played Amy. And I really liked her performance of Amy, especially considering that when I read the books, Amy is probably my least favorite character. But this version of the movie definitely gave her more. They just gave more to that character, where some of the things that happens with Amy make a little bit more sense. And especially in this version, there's this whole monologue that Amy does where she talks about how marriage is an economic decision for women of that time period, because she's always, you know, kind of known as like being the character who's like, oh, I have to marry a rich man. And it's because she feels like in that time period, you do have to really consider finances when choosing a husband, because as a woman in that time period, they had like no power and had to rely heavily on their partners. So that was a really good scene, and one that I'm glad was added to this movie. Definitely gave it kind of a modern sort of slant and a little bit of like a, you know, kind of more of like a context for the time period, which wasn't in the book, but I'm really glad it was added in. And I did some research, and it turns out that it was Meryl Streep who actually suggested that they add that scene to kind of give Amy's motivations and just to give the whole movie more of a sense of context. And so yeah, I really enjoyed that too. The only gripe I have in terms of casting, and this isn't really necessarily negative, the actress that played Beth, and I cannot remember her name, but she was also in Sharp Objects. She was good, but I feel like she lacked that childlike innocence that Beth has, that it makes her so endearing. In this version, Beth just seemed to be very, just extremely like withdrawn and kind of shy, but didn't have that childlike quality that we all know and love about Beth March. So she did a good job. It's just, she was just kind of missing that little thing about Beth. The other thing that I really liked about this movie that at first I was a little bit put off by, but since I've been thinking about it, I am happy with it. Because I am a bit of an adaptation purist, I usually feel like if someone's going to do an adaptation of something, that they should stick to the story. But in this version, in this movie, the ending is different. But now that I've been thinking about it, I am more okay with the way that this movie ended, because I feel like it is more true to what Louisa May Alcott herself really wanted in the ending of her story. I'm going to get into that in a minute. And I feel like this ending is more satisfying to most people who've read the book. And I'm not going to say what it is exactly, because it would be like a big spoiler, but it does have to do with Jo and the way that her story ends. When reading the book, I know I myself have felt that the way her story ends, there's like something about it that just doesn't make any sense and isn't really true to her character. And I feel like a lot of people feel that way, and the movie kind of changes the ending and almost pokes fun at the way it was originally like ended in the book for that reason. And again, I think they did that because in real life, when Louisa May Alcott was writing Little Women, she was pressured to finish the book a certain way, to have Jo's story end a certain way, and basically was told that if she didn't write it that way, that the book wouldn't sell. So she put out this ending that she wasn't necessarily on board with. And yeah, it kind of shows, because that part of Jo's story still doesn't totally make sense to me. So I was a little bit happy to kind of see what they did with that and how they changed it. And I also really liked how in this adaptation, and they also did this in the 1994 version, how Jo, it's it focuses a lot on her writing and how she is aspiring to be a writer and wants to, you know, make a career of it. And so you have all these great scenes of her just kind of sitting in a corner with like blankets, and she's like scribbling, you know, with her ink, and has ink all over her hands and stuff. And those sort of scenes I just love, because that's the Jo that, you know, we all love. So I loved that she was portrayed that way, and that it did focus a lot on her career aspirations. So yeah, overall, I think this was a really good adaptation. I was happy with it. I think that the kind of modern kind of little things that they put into this version worked really well, because I think for the most part, they did stay true to the story, with, you know, some exceptions about the ending and all of that. But those were okay changes, I feel. Yeah, the acting was good. The like the cinematography, the costumes, all of that I thought was good. And overall, yeah, I think that the changes that they made in the way that they kind of changed the way the story was told with the jumping back and forth, I thought that was done really well. And overall, I thought it was a good adaptation. So, yeah. Please let me know down below if you have seen the new Little Women adaptation. Tell me what you thought about it. What things did you like? What things didn't you like? Let's compare, because that's what we do when we watch book adaptations, don't we? We compare them. But overall, I was happy with it. So I would say if you are a fan of Little Women and you want to see this new adaptation, it's definitely worth it to go to the theater and see it. Because I thought it was really good. Alright guys, so that's all I have for today. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I will talk with you very soon. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.